There are moments that surprise and delight the mind and the senses. Introducing Sound Art, the world's first truly customizable, concealed, flat panel art speaker system. A revolutionary combination of incredible sound delivered from your most meaningful pictures. When art and technology intersect, there is a seamless blend of creativity and function.
Come alive in the streetlight, pulling at the stars in the moonlight. Every time I feel you close.
With Sound Art, anyone can print their own artwork or pick from numerous licensed artwork that we have. The possibilities are limitless. Enjoy beautiful and amazing sound throughout your home. The entire surface of your artwork generates incredibly robust sound. Your art never sounded so good.
It's race night once again, and tonight we get set to duke it out for 100 laps and 250 miles here for the Tucson Sound Art 250 of the Daytona International Speedway. Hello one and all, and welcome to the iRacing Stock Car Association round number 10 of the Tucson Sound Art Cup Series and round number 1 of the Tucson Sound Art Super Cup Series season. My name is Noel Rempel. I've got Alfonso Nixon beside me in the broadcast booth. And we get set to go racing for what should be a barn burner of a race if the race that we had just 3 nights ago on Thursday is anything to go by. So Al, we get set to go racing once again as Super Speedway Racing, and you and I were both talking earlier tonight about just how exciting the Thursday night race was, and we're expecting no different with an even bigger grid here tonight.
Absolutely. Actually having one of our largest grids to date with 25 drivers signed up for this event. I'm thinking it's going to be nothing short of spectacular, but maybe a little rectacular, if you know what I mean.
Should be a very entertaining race as qualifying is just getting underway. Tonight is, of course, the first race in the Super Cup Series season, and with that does come a few drivers that are, of course, new to the scene here at the ISCA. A couple of the notable names. Kenny Thompson is one of the rookies coming into tonight, along with Adrian San Jose Arenas. You, of course, have got the likes of Travis Manning making their returns to the racing surface, as well as others like Mario LaPinta, looking to see if they can potentially have a solid run for themselves. Channing Balu also making his ISCA return. You got a lot of drivers here that are coming in after taking a little bit of a break, and some new altogether, which means we could be in for one very, very exciting race if things are going to kick off just like they did 1 week ago with a 25-car grid getting set to go racing here tonight.
And absolutely, and this is going to be an awesome race because I think we're featuring 3 stages. So these drivers are going to be able to get out there, run the first stage, figure out what's going on, get out there, run that second stage, which is going to be another 20 laps. And then that third and final stage, showing us the remaining 60 laps, is going to be a very exciting race, no doubt.
Stage cautions at 20 and 40, just like they were on Thursday night. Fuel window is just about 30 laps on the dot, which means, of course, 1 pit stop in the third and final stage. That is the only round of green flag stops that we are expecting to be seen here tonight. There's less than a minute left already in qualifying. 18 out of the 25 drivers so far have set times, and it is a tight field at the top of the board. The top 4 separated by less than 9 thousandths of a second. Really going to show just how competitive this field could be tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. As we get qualifying set to close, I'd like to give a big shout out to the original Big Al, my dad there, his 79th birthday. Happy birthday to your dad as we get qualifying in the books. Not only, I think we're going to have a pretty exciting race. Everybody stay tuned. This thing's going to get kicked off here momentarily.
Final seconds just ticking away from qualifying at the World Center of Racing at Daytona Beach in Florida. So as Travis Manning clocks in a 7th place time right at the buzzer, it's time for the United States of America National Anthem.
Drivers, start your engines!
And with that, starting on pole position, it's going to be G&G's Chris Johnson with Kenny Powell lining up beside him on the front row. Greg Wyszynski will be in third place, and that will make it the likes of Chris Severa to round out a G&G front two-row lockout. Bear Gutpold rounds out the top five. You've got Eric Kling down in sixth place. Travis Manning is down in seventh, with Mario LaPinta starting down in eighth. Josh Schaffner is ninth, with Frank Flores rounding out the top 10.
That's going to put Robert Paddingale in 11th, with Brooks Dirting making his premier start in 12th. Adrian San Jose Arenas in 13th, with Don Avery in 14th. Channing Ballou making his debut in 15th, with Kenny Thompson in 16th. Jay Hone 17th, with Mark Johnston in 18th. John Mullins will be in 19th, with Brian Johnson in 20th.
And that'll put the likes of Wayne Grossi in 21st place, with Paul Olson down in 22nd. It's Gary Adams in 23rd and Ryan Strunk in 24th place. Ken Allen rounds out the 25-car grid. Only 19 out of the 25 drivers setting times here tonight from Daytona. So that rounds out your Tucson Sound Art starting grid. Tucson Sound Art introduces an entirely new and enjoyable way to listen to music in your home. Uploading and making your own images and pictures in a sound art is easy as 1, 2, 3. Everyone who looks at the picture will wonder where the great sound is coming from. A single charger will last days and gives you the ability to go truly wireless with no power cables. Sound art looks good in any room in the house, from the front room to the back room. The speakers are powered by batteries and receive audio via a Bluetooth connection, meaning nobody will even know that the art they are looking at is actually producing the sound that they're hearing. Tucson Sound Art specializes in creating custom artwork from your personal artwork and photos. You can also choose images from their expansive collection of high-quality photos. It's a perfect gift for friends, family, and business associates. To learn more, visit www.tucsonsoundart.com. 25 cars lined up, and we're just waiting on that pace car to lead us to the green.
For what is going to prove to be a heck of a season opener for this Super Sports Series. Are you as excited as I am, Nolan? These guys are getting ready to duke it out, where we're going to see a lot of bumping and banging, a lot of drafting. You can side draft with these cars. You can actually get right up there, and you can push the nose right underneath guys. So we're going to see a lot of different racing tactics going on today, and hopefully these guys will be able to not swap too much paint, if you know what I mean.
For the people that are watching this race right now who might be a little bit out of the iRacing loop throughout the last couple of months, iRacing did introduce the new 670 horsepower package, and with that did come a brand new super speedway package as well, and that means that we are now going to finally be in a position where we can now see double file super speedway racing once again, just like in the older Gen 6 era, back when, really back before everything was just a single file draft train, right? And that is going to make it a heck of an entertaining race tonight. We saw the effects of that on Thursday, where we ran a caution-free race with a 24-car field. We're hoping to do similar here tonight. One car did not take to the starting grid. One of the ISCA rookies, Adrian San Jose Arenas, in his number 30 Chevrolet, opting to take this race start from pit road. The remaining 24 on track, getting ready to double it up and go green flag racing.
Yeah, that's going to be a very interesting call. But with the stage cautions, he should be all right. Interesting enough to note, though, I think Adrian actually did put down one of the fastest times in the practice round here for today.
I believe you might possibly be correct on that one. And in fact, he said, well, not one of the fastest, but was right in the middle, 13th place. And I think that might be behind his reason to want to take this race from pit road. Midfield is one of the most dangerous places you can be when it comes to super speedway racing. Of course, these guys at the back are going to have to be careful that they're not going to be dropping off. We saw that happening a whole lot when we were starting off the races and the green flag runs in the Butt Kicker 250 for the Butt Kicker Cup Series just 3 nights ago. Pace car is coming around through turns 3 and 4, and we want to thank all of our viewers for joining us here for more Saturday night ISCA racing action. It'll be in the hands of Barney the Flagman as the pace car pulls down into pit road. It's time to get the 2022 Tucson Sound Art Cup Series underway, and we're racing at the World Center Racing from Daytona.
and it looks like Chris Johnson is going to take the lead on that 48 car. He's going to have to make that car pretty wide because that outside line is proven to be the fastest line. So he's going to make sure that he doesn't give those guys an opportunity to say freight train him or run him over. So now we got that outside line forming up pretty good. Looks like the bottom line yet to form. Kenny Powell's got the nose of that 24 car tucked right in there in the bottom of Johnson.
That outside lane is just so strong on the restarts. I'm not sure what it is about it, but it just goes at Daytona. And you saw it right there. Johnson pushed up, got clear. The next two drivers fell all the way back to 5th and 6th place on the bottom side. And now single filed all the way back to about the 10th position on the racetrack, where Pat Gill and Baloo side by side on the racing circuit. It is Chris Johnson, though, to lead the way from Daytona. And, of course, the driver that did start from pit road, the likes of Adrian San Jose Arenas, is going to now find himself well off the draft and just hoping that he can stay with the field.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, there's very few places that are as lonely as losing a draft in Daytona. You know, because if you are out there by yourself, I mean, it's just a pretty scary feeling. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it. So he's definitely going to want to try to make sure that he can at least try to find that draft to stay up in.
A few guys falling towards the back still on the top side. That includes Don Avery, Kenny Thompson, as well as Brooks Durden and Travis Manning. They're just looking to tuck back in line. And I think that's a wise move so far. Just take it nice and easy, right? It's a long race, 100 laps. Don't need to push it very early on. Brian Johnson, Gary Adamson looking to see if they want to open up the top side. Johnson linking up with the number 36 Monster Energy Ford Mustang from the top shelf. But they are so far only falling back with no help for either of those two drivers up from the top side. Even though there's a hole, though, they're going to maintain their loyalty to the top line. And that is going to coax Kenny Thompson to go back up there with them.
Yeah, but, you know, 3 laps into this thing, being on that outside line, you know, you have to make certain that you don't lose the draft. And the one thing will happen is if those drivers in the back are going to race side by side, they could possibly risk the entire group losing the draft as well.
You can already see the gap opening up. The side draft very, very powerful. Mark Johnston being pulled back in, and this is allowing the likes of Ryan Strunk and the rest of the field to start to slip away just a little bit further up the road, where things are all still single filed out. I think at this point in time, these guys are hoping that some of the other people up near the front of this field go double file as well to kind of slow the whole field down. And that could allow them to get back in a fighting order, but so far that is very much not happening, and it looks as though Adamson and co. are finally going to bail out on their crusade from the top lane. They'll be tucking in line at the very tail end of this field, and none too soon. That will allow Mark Johnson to once again catch the draft with Ryan Strung, start to pull their way back into contention.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, you don't want to lose the draft, even though it's early on. Everybody's playing it safe. Drivers are running this thing single file, one behind another, and that is really going to reduce the risk of having some early stage chaos. I mean, so this is the best thing I think that could happen right now as we are just coming in, you know, 5 laps into this.
Still got Brian Johnson looking to run the high side and trying to make his way up along past Brooks Durden, and it really is not going his way so far. I mean, yes, you can make runs with fewer cars, but, you know, 2 cars still isn't any match for about 20 or so that are right in front of you. Up at the front of the field, things are still looking very, very settled. Chris Johnson has still led every single lap so far. I think it helps the fact that he's got himself 4 G&G teammates and the likes of Kenny Powell, Chris Severa, Eric Kling, and Greg Wachinski all tucked in line for a G&G top 5 lockout for the time being.
Yeah, and everybody else is just simply just trying to play catch up because, you know, those G&G cars, it's like they're on a rail, but you just don't want to put yourself in a position to lose a draft. I've done it. I know you've done it, and it's just a miserable feeling, especially this early on. Now, it's going to be interesting as we get through this stage, who comes in and takes tires at the end of the first stage versus not taking tires. I ran 130 laps on a set of tires, so it's going to be interesting to see how these guys are going to manage their tire strategy.
A good number of drivers have moved up to the top lane, looking at Dirting, along with Travis Manning and Channing Baloo, all up to the top shelf, looking to make some speed. A huge checkup started by Jay Ho off of turn number 4 is what gave these guys the run they needed to start to pull in some time. Brian Johnson, Kenny Thompson, and Ryan Strong kind of thinking about it, with Don Avery looking to catch up to the back end of the top line as well. So you got yourself 5, about to be a 6-car train looking to mount a charge at the top lane, and that could be enough. You start to see them making some ground through 3 and 4. They're currently pulled alongside with the likes of Frank Flores running in 9th place at the top of the lap. Josh Schaffner in 8th, going to move up to the top shelf. He wants to lead the outside line as he's trying to get by Mario LaPinta.
Yeah, that's definitely time those drivers are going to see. If they can get that outside line formed up, if they can actually make any damage, looks like we're going 3 wide in the turns here.
Josh Schaffner got muscled out. Channing Baloo saw the hole and did not want to lift. He'll let Schaffner back in. And that is going to send Josh Schaffner crashing all the way to the back end of that outside line. And that definitely held up the run from that outside lane quite significantly, but not for long, as Channing Baloo gets past LaPinta, looking to maybe work on uppull before starting to chip away at the G&G top 5. The outside line is on a charge, and Wachinski abandons his teammates to go to the outside now.
Yeah, he abandoned his teammates so he can control the run is what he did.
Oh, look at this. Baloo didn't want to work with him. He went to the inside line. Baloo's now about to be stopped in his crusade, trying to make that second line work, and now he's going to push away past Eric Uphold.
Yeah, I think definitely he has a plan, and it's not involving the likes of Greg Wachinski or Josh Schaffner, as he just absolutely did not lift. He just put that nose down, and he kept that freaking car running right there.
And now Wachinski going 3 wide with this field. That has caused them to lose major time. And you can see them slipping back. The entire outside line has just been shattered. A bit of contact on to turn 4 as well. Deeper in the field. Wachinski is not letting this middle line get any kind of momentum. It's dragging back all 3 lines now. Dirting is about to lose the draft. Strong's about to lose the draft. Wachinski, I think, took a bullet. He decided to bite the bullet for his team to make sure they could keep up with the top 5.
I think he just made himself a parachute, Nolan. I mean, because that's essentially is what he's done. He took that, he completely destroyed the run from that top line. So, yeah, he just made the ultimate sacrifice for his G&G teammates.
And now Ryan Strunk, I think, has lost the draft, so this is crucial here. That move from Wachinski just made it. So that leading pack is now about 10 cars less.
Yeah, but they're not going to be any slower, Nolan. So now that the lead pack is side by side, and that second pack, you'll see they're still running. The lead pack is single file. That second pack running side by side. Although side drafting is effective, you're not going to be able to close the gap on the lead cars if they all stay in a tight line.
And in that second train, you've got a train of 6 on the top side, only 4 on the bottom, so the outside lane will reign supreme in the second train. We are now halfway through stage 1, rounding lap 11 of 20. And now, oh, Travis Schaffner gets hooked! Huge crash, entering turn number 3, multiple cars into the outside wall, and that is caution number 1 on the night. Schaffner got hooked and went skyward, helicoptering over the entire second half of your leading pack, and that was a good 6-7 cars torn up in yellow flag number 1.
Hopefully Schaffner is all right, as he does go completely airborne. And I think that 5-0 car's definitely seen better days. We're going to have to get a look and see how many other cars were tore up in this as we'll call it our first semi-big one here.
It's a big checkup in the field. The outside line was wriggling around a little bit. I think they were trying to get down to the low side. Didn't realize they were quite as clear as they thought. And obviously Brooks Dirting just couldn't do a whole lot. I mean, the whole field's weaving around, checking up, and just couldn't go down, just drove right through Schaffner. We'll take a look at this one from the air, and you're gonna watch right about here when they start to wiggle their way down to the low side, and it was right there. There was the hook, and in fact, Wayne Grassi went up and over in this wreck as well. You can see him get up into the outside wall, and he flipped in a wild manner down to the infield grass as well.
The Grassi and the Grassi.
Oy, oy, oy.
Yeah, and that's one of the scary things about running side by side on that side drive. It looked like Schaffner was kind of maybe thinking about dropping down to the inside, and that kind of gave Ballou the wrong idea, I guess, and he didn't check up. These guys, it didn't appear that anybody's really been checking up at all, but definitely, hit him square and sent him flying in the air, Nolan.
And stuck on his side means Grossi will have to tow, and I do believe that will mean Wayne Grossi and Josh Schaffner could be two of the drivers out early tonight. Don Avery also has got very heavy damage. Ken Ayling got torn up from that, so did Mark Johnson. A good number of drivers in that field completely destroyed, and we're under the first caution for the first time on Daytona week, because remember, the Thursday night race went caution-free outside of the stages. So this is, I have to say, it was a little bit overdue, I guess you could say.
Well, and I hate to say this but when you're racing side by side, all you're doing is doubling your chances of having something like that happen. That lead pack, as long as you're tucked in like you are single file, it might not be super sexy, but it is super safe.
Was certainly a rough ride for the likes of Schaffner and Grossi, who definitely took the worst hits out of that whole mess, and definitely so unfortunate for those guys. They were looking so fast, and it's those little wiggles. That's all it takes. Now, this will help the likes of Adrian San Jose Arenas, who will be able to kind of push himself a little bit further towards the top of the field. Paul Olson had also lost the draft. I believe Kenny Thompson was in a similar situation. All three of those drivers, 23rd through 25th, at least before that caution flag had come out, they're not going to be right stacked up again with the field, and they've got the ability to now go and race for some stage points.
Yeah, absolutely, and those stage points being even more critical as this is the initial race for that Super Saturday series as we're closing up the other series. But, Grossi's bad luck continues because here was an opportunity to start this season with a clean slate, and yet again, another DNF for those guys. It's just got to be disheartening.
Mentioned, of course, the fact that we are wrapping up the regular Cup Series season as the Super Cup Series starts to get kicked off here tonight. And there are only 2 races after tonight remaining for the regular Cup Series season. Those races are going to be at the Auto Club Speedway as well as the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And with that, you're going to have some serious points calculations that these drivers are going to have to start to be made. Now, we've already established this 1 week ago, but you could score a maximum of 60 points in one race. Chris Severa currently has a 56-point buffer to work with, and his biggest points competitor, Josh Schaffner, just taken out in the big one on lap 11.
Yeah, and that's also unfortunate for Schaffner because, we don't want to see these guys, Severa dots down.
Where is he going?
Not sure what's going on with that.
The road course was last week.
Yeah,
I think on the oval there.
I think he's just reliving his glory days. Because if I remember correctly, didn't he put on a clinic there as well?
Just about, yeah. Lights out on the pace car. We're going green flag racing this time by. Field is stacked up, doubled up. We're ready to go. Back racing here at Daytona International Speedway. It's Johnson, Powell, Severa, Kling, LaPinta, Uphold for the top 3 rows. The outside line got a really good launch last time by. We'll have to see if it'll be the same story. Second versus into the first maybe here tonight. Chris Johnson gonna jump right when the green flag flies. We're back underway. A little bit of a tap from Severa to help Chris Johnson get up to speed on the low side.
Yeah, as we are going back to green, we have 5 laps left in this. So this is about the time where a charge would be set up anyway. So I don't know if they're going to dissolve that top line, if they're going to go ahead and make it do what it does. So it looks like Severa is going to continue to push Johnson, but Powell's going to be up top, and I don't think he's going to try to stagnate these guys. I think they're going to try to put themselves in a key position to get those very, very valuable stage points as Powell now tucks back in line.
Oh, and Eric Kling wasn't able to get the hole. Mario Lapinta filled it before Kling could get the nose in. And now Eric Kling having to fall all the way back to the outside line, headed up by Jay Hone and Greg Wychinski, trying to see if he can maybe use that and ride that back towards the front of this field. 5 laps left to go in stage number 1. That side draft, will it come back to bite the field again as they go racing side by side I think at the moment, Eric Klein would need a couple of the guys up in front to get up there to the outside line to help him draft his way back up to the leaders.
I think Eric Kling at this point just is looking for an opportunity to slide down and join those guys in that lower line because, I mean, he's not wanting to be the leader of this second charge. So unless he does, I think, but he's definitely he's going to be looking to get back in line because otherwise they're just going to keep falling back.
Coming to 4 to go this time by. Still no challenge being made for the race lead. Currently headed up by Chris Johnson. You've got a good gaggle of cars, though, right behind that are no doubt ready to give the 48 a run for his money. Look at Severa shoving the 48 all the way to the triangle in the sprint down towards turn number 1. Really looking to help out his GNG teammate as we enter the closing stages on the first stage of the night, which will conclude the first fifth of tonight's race as well. I tell you what, this has been a phenomenal run so far for a lot of these drivers in the field. They just got to hope that they can make it just a little bit further, then they can take a bit of a breather under that stage 1 caution.
Now with 2 laps to go, pit road will be closing, and now drivers are going to start to figure out if they want to get to that outside line or not. But right now, it's going to take more than just those 5 guys that are out there in order to make this top line work. So it's going to be interesting to see as if some drivers will jump up there to join them.
Whoa! Kenny Powell, he must have heard you. As soon as he said that, he jumped to the top shelf.
Yeah, because now is the time to get that top line moving, and we've seen it be successful. I mean, we watched Al Kozlowski make it really work in that Thursday night race. So Powell definitely a student of the game, and I think he's going to be trying to do the same thing.
2 laps to go this time by. Manning jumps to the top shelf. 1 to go for a stage 1 win and spoil GNG's party. They come across the line. Uppo makes the lunge, and Manning going to go back down to the low side. Pit road is closed, and now Manning goes to the top shelf. He really wants to lead that outside lane.
And that's what he's doing. He knew where he wanted to be.
Trouble behind, wrecking in the background. Cars going around. Kenny Thompson getting spun around. And that'll be a premature end to stage 1 as the 22 car gets sent around deeper in the field.
I tell you what that just did, Nolan. That just saved us from tearing up a lot of other cars. So even though it does end this stage prematurely, that is still going to probably take we're now going to have to wait to see how they end stage 2.
Just a huge checkup, and I think it was Jenny and Ballard that just ran over Thompson, got into strong. John Mullins was collected, and lucky nobody else in behind got into him as well. But the Ultra Awings number 22 Toyota Camry having some unfortunate luck for himself. We back things up, and we'll once again get set to take a look on what put us under the stage 1 caution here early. Right there was the little bit of a bobble that Bear Guppel made. That stacked the entire field up, and I think that all stemmed from when Travis Manning ripped his way through.
Yeah, the brakes on these cars definitely are not designed to stop you like that. So that's an unfortunate. But as stage 1 comes to an end, we have Chris Johnson's going to be that stage winner, followed by Travis Manning in 3rd place. Chris Severa is in, 3rd place, with Barrett Uphold 4th, Mario LaPinta 5th, Kenny Powell 6th, Frank Flores 7th, Eric Kling 8th, Jay Hone 9th, and Robert Pattengill rounding out the top 10 points-paying positions. I think now we're going to have to take a break and get a word from our sponsors.
There are moments that surprise and delight the mind and the senses. Introducing Sound Art, the world's first truly customizable, concealed, flat panel art speaker system. A revolutionary combination of incredible sound delivered from your most meaningful pictures. When art and technology intersect, there is a seamless blend of creativity and function.
Come alive in the streetlight, pulling at the stars in the moonlight. Every time I feel you close.
With Sound Art, Anyone can print their own artwork or pick from numerous licensed artwork that we have. The possibilities are limitless. Enjoy beautiful and amazing sound throughout your home. The entire surface of your artwork generates incredibly robust sound. Your art never sounded so good.
Butt Kicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Stage 1 in the books. Paul Olson is your current race leader up in front. Interestingly enough for you right there, I do believe he stayed out under this latest Stage 1 yellow flag to take the race lead on the racing circuit as we get set to go back green flag racing this time by. Now, I have to say, I believe the reason why Paul Olson had opted to stay out this time by, I think it came down under the caution flag on one of our prior accidents, particularly on caution number 1, Ural, which now sees him net the race lead.
Yeah, but it's also going to see him net some questions concerning fuel economy. I'm not quite through the math in my head, and I don't think he'll have enough to make it through stage 2. Might be just a little bit short.
Well, it came down about 9 laps ago for that last caution pit stop, and he's got about 30. If he saved enough under this caution flag, I think he'll have just enough to make it to the end of stage 2.
Yeah, Roger, that makes sense. If he came in on around lap 9 or 10, okay, now I'm tracking. Now that makes sense. And, tires really aren't that big of a deal. As the car runs out of fuel, though, it does affect the handling characteristic a little bit. So we'll see if this actually nets him any gain whatsoever because, at Daytona, it really doesn't matter. You can go from worst to first in a lap. So the lights are off on the pace car. Looks like we're getting ready to take this thing back green as the pace car is coming in.
Pace cars in pit road. Paul Olson takes us back to green flag racing from Daytona. Chris Johnson not getting the best of launches up on the high side. Barrett Cuphold laying back a little bit. Might be waiting to see if he can set up a run on the 43 car just up in front as we thunder back into turn number 1. Travis Manning trying to go with Chris Johnson is going to go up to the top shelf and try to steal the lead away. He's also got Severa and Powell looking to help him out. G&G is trying to make it a 1, 2, 3, 4, but Manning looks to upset the balance. Second place on the top side at the moment.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Manning does once this thing breaks up. Is he going to get it left behind, or is he actually going to fight for a position?
Looks like he'll be left behind. Kenny Powell and Severa both jumped down low. Manning stayed high. Fell back for a brief moment, but now he's going to go to the point. That's where he wanted to be at the end of stage number 1. Now he finds himself leading stage 2, being shoved by Kenny Powell and his G&G Toyota Camry just in behind. And interesting enough, Manning is going to stay on the outside lane. I think realizes that is more the place you want to be. It is the overall faster of the two lines, but all this wiggling around is not helping him as Severa and Johnson clearly a lot more comfortable pushing each other, linking up on the bottom.
Yeah, they're definitely more comfortable pushing each other. But this right now has kind of got the makings of just interesting. We're so early into this stage, so I thought maybe guys will be looking for an opportunity to maybe get back down there and kind of go single file again, but it appears they're having none of it. Now Powell is actually going to continue his run. He wants his share of the race lead.
Oh, that's checking on the inside line as Manning went down low. They almost went 3 wide and they almost wrecked, but they managed to keep it steady down through 1 and 2. A close call right around the middle portion of the top 10. But now Powell is clear for the lead on the top side, along with GMG teammates Eric Kling and Greg Wachinski. They're all three going to jump down low, leaving the likes of Adrian San Jose Arenas, who started this race from pit road, to lead the charge on the outside. Manning wants his lead back. Think about the outside line. No room for him in either line, though, at the moment.
Yeah, that's the one unfortunate thing about being on the outside. It's just a matter of time before somebody leaves you out there by yourself, as Adrian Arenas now is finding out, as he's now boxed out and finding himself going to be soon fighting for position.
And Arenas having to lift a little bit entering turn number 1. I think he wants to get out of 3 wide, but there's just no hole. He almost makes contact with Brian Johnson through 1 and 2, and now he's able to get a tucked in double file, but that has completely just completely shattered the outside line as a whole, down to just 4 cars who aren't even really in a big drafting car with each other, leaving the inside line the place where you, I would say, need to be if you want to keep up with pace.
Yeah, absolutely. That outside line is very promising and is very rewarding, but more guys are going to get left out there on the dance floor by themselves by going up there. And that's a hard lesson to learn, but if you learn it early on, you will understand the reason why you kind of wait until there's one to go before you start to double it up like that. But it's interesting, though, that even though we kind of understand this, we're still guys that are going to be out there too wide, you know?
It's the conundrum of, we can say all we want, but the guys down there, they're the ones that have to be ripping it around in these cars at over 170 miles an hour, sometimes well over 180 and even cracking through 190. It's these split-second decisions that can have some pretty major consequences. We saw this when Travis Manning checked up the field, and that caused a chain reaction that ended stage number 1. We're hoping that stage 2 can run its course and run its way out fully towards the end of stage 2, which at the moment we're about to hit the halfway point in about 2.5 laps here. So little by little, we are getting there, and we are starting to get these longer green flag runs, which is exactly what we want to see, because obviously with only 17 cars up to speed so far in this top train, one big mistake could very well just destroy well over half the field, if not the entire field.
Yeah, that's it. The big one, it doesn't care who you are. It will wrap you up and grab you and just make your whole day just wet, so... And we're going to have an opportunity for that, I guarantee you, as we get ready to end these stages. So guys are going to get answered. Everybody wants those stage points, but you gotta be available at the end of this thing if you want to put your name on the wall.
Side by side with Chaney Ballard and Mario Lapinta, they're starting to really pull up to Barrick Uphold, and the other drivers a little bit further up the way. The outside lane is starting to get a little bit more speed underneath it. Travis Manning, I can see, starting to gain some time. Brian Johnson as well, kind of just, oh, trouble! Mario Lapinta gets taken out, and Ballou gets spun down. No yellow flag. We keep this thing green. Lapinta slams the inside wall, and I think that'll be about it from Mario Lapinta, and I think Ballou got hooked by Travis Manning. In fact, that was exactly it. Hooked by Manning out of turn number 4. Nothing that Lapinta could do to avoid that one.
Yeah, that's just an unfortunate set of circumstances. Even so, now this thing is green, and it will stay so unless somebody actually comes to a slower than recommended speed on the surface. And that just makes it even more unfortunate for the guys involved in that, because now they're not even on race pace,
It's an unfortunate situation for Lapinta, who could very easily find himself now going laps down. We're halfway through stage number 2. 10 to go until we hit lap number 40, when that stage 2 caution will break. And now that has completely disjointed the entire outside line, which is going to be leaving us with a single file train of what was once 17 cars strong, now just 14 cars strong thundering down the back straightaway. And Channing Ballo has entered pit road. I think the damage necessarily too severe for Ballo to have to ignore, and that was in fact the case. And all the while, Travis Manning continues his run up in front. I know 2 drivers, though, that might not be terribly happy, though, with Manning now, and who might not be willing to work with him in the long run.
Yeah, like I said, that's just a very unfortunate set of circumstances. You know, you're coming in here trying to make a name for yourself. You really don't want to get the wrong name, if you know what I mean.
On to 10 laps to go. Manning once again trying to make the high side work. Brian Johnson and Jose Arena is going to go with them on the top shelf. The number 30 car along the 4 and the 22. Make that the 22 being scored as the 18. All going to be running the outside line. Mark Johnson has just come down into pit road. He was in the 21st place and 7 laps down, so a non-factor so far in how this race is playing out. And now the field's starting to catch the likes of Mario Lapinta just up in front. Lapinta slow off the pace. 165 miles is all Lapinta's able to hit as the field's going to thunder by him on the inside line. And now this could get hairy, but they're going to go 3 wide. Lapinta stays up wide and lets the ball through.
Yeah, right now everybody's trying to figure out, you know, if we're running too wide, and we do have quite a few guys, at least 4 cars that appear to be off the pace. So that is going to become an interesting factor as we get over halfway on this stage and start to get maybe side-by-side racing, because eventually we're going to have to get that top line working. It just has, you have to make it work. There's no choice.
And Mario Lapinta has just spun on the back straightaway. Interestingly enough, for the number 13 car, having a bit of a moment down on the back stretch. Not quite sure what the deal is going on there. We'll keep eyes on what's going on up in front. As you can see, the likes of Travis Manning and Brian Johnson looking to rip around with each other. Lapinta has taken the tow back down into pit road. And we get set now to once again duke it out up towards the front end of this field. It's starting to close in on that point where the aggressions really start to ramp on up. Coming to 6 laps to go this time by.
Yeah, the drivers have been in the seat long enough now. You know, you've done enough beating and banging. You kind of got an idea who's got fast cars. You get an idea who you're going to work with. You know, who's going to leave you out top to dry, who's going to actually, you know, help you and stay out there and make it work. That's the one thing that I think scares a lot of these guys. If you get out there on that high line, you know, is the guy going to drop down on you and just kind of leave you out there? Because then, you know, you're out there, you got to kind of start that whole process over again, Owen.
It'll be 5 laps to go this time by. It's still a G&G 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now 6. You want to talk about a team that's just dominated Daytona? Well, there's your answer right there. 2 letters, and at the moment, there's no sign that their reign is going to end anytime soon. A lot of Mustangs running up in that group, and that's not far from usual, right? The Mustangs do have the flattest nose, making them the best cars to push at a super speedway.
Yeah, all of the cars did get a little bit of an advantage with the new noses, you know, so, you know, even though that space is kind of limited, it's still a lot bigger than it was, you know, on the previous gen cars. So it's good to see if you can hook up and because you, don't push the pusher. Isaac, don't push the pusher. It looks like Olsen was just off the pace just a little bit. And that's 77.
Oh, no, they're wrecking now. Big wreck out of turn 4. Uppull going around. Oh, big hit for Jay Hone. And Flores slams down, and I believe will be forced into pit road.
Still no caution.
How is that not a caution? No yellow flag. That should have been a caution. Don't know why it wasn't a caution. Who was that? That was Chris Johnson on the top shelf. Your points leader, I think. No, chat, that's Severa that's the points leader. Johnson leads the Thursday night series.
Yeah, that did. It looks like Johnson and Severa might have got a little too close for comfort there, trying to make that outside line work. Yeah, it looks like he's tucked in right behind them. They're coming out of the turn. Powell comes up to the top.
Oh, that's what did it.
Yep. Powell tried to jump up there with his teammates and what were you saying about the G team again?
Well, spoke too soon, apparently.
And the fact that there's no caution it even makes this more interesting because if you got a torn up race car here, and we just tore up a bunch of cars, there's no caution. These guys keep going. You go that many laps down, that pretty much is going to end a lot of people's day, Nolan, as far as being competitive.
I'm still at a loss as to how that was not a yellow flag. I mean, you would think that should have been a yellow flag. That had no reason not being a non-caution. Pit road is closed. We're 2 laps away from the stage end, and it's now just a 5-horse race up in front.
And this second stage finish should be nothing short of boring because I just don't think we can afford to tear up any more cars at this point. I think at this point, guys, just, take the stage points, take the 5, take the 4.
Oh, Manning, he's not listening to you right now, Al. He's going below the line to try to get by the 30. What was that about wanting to take it easy and just take your stage points and move along?
But you see what happens to those two in the draft now. They're going to have to figure something out with each other. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves by themselves.
Absolutely. And now, Adrian San Jose Arenas now will hold strong on the outside. And now Travis Manning going to be going with him now. Potentially trying to link back up with the draft up on the top side with Kenyon Powell, Wachinski, and Eric Kling. Final lap of the stage. Will there be a move potentially for the stage 2 victory? Right now, you've got 3 G&G teammates looking to work together.
Yeah, but if he could just get that side draft, he might have the strongest run of everybody out there. I don't know. Maybe he came up a little bit too soon, but hey, it's time to go. This is the opportunity. You're not going to get this chance again.
And not going to get there. Kenyon Powell wins the second stage on the night.
Wow, that second stage, we're going to have to come up with a couple of words for that one.
Ay. What a night we're having so far.
Yeah, looks like Kenny Powell's going to take that stage win with Greg Wachinski coming in second, Eric Kling third, Adrian San Jose Arenas is going to be in fourth, Travis Manning fifth, Paul Olsen sixth, Chris Severus seventh, Brian Johnson eighth, Ryan Strunk ninth, and Robert Pattingale rounding out our top 10 points paying positions.
We're going to take a quick step away. We'll be back with stage number 3 in just a few moments.
There are moments that surprise and delight the mind and the senses. Introducing Sound Art, the world's first truly customizable, concealed, flat panel art speaker system. A revolutionary combination of incredible sound delivered from your most meaningful pictures. When art and technology intersect, there is a seamless blend of creativity and function.
I'm alive in the streetlight, pulling at the stars in the moonlight. Every time I feel you close.
With Sound Art, anyone can print their own artwork or pick from numerous licensed artwork that we have. The possibilities are limitless. Enjoy beautiful and amazing sound throughout your home. The entire surface of your artwork generates incredibly robust sound. Your art never sounded so good.
Field is starting to come down pit road for what could be potentially the final round of yellow flag pit stops on the night, depending on how stage 3 plays out. Chris Johnson, one of the biggest contenders for a potential win tonight, is out. He will also be joining the likes of Schaffner, Avery, Durding, Grassi. Frank Flores went a lap down. Ballou's a lap down. Jay Hone's 4 down. Mario Lapinta still 6 laps down as well. All of this from a couple of incidents right out of both of them really out of turn number 4. And both caused by the outside line just getting a little bit too aggressive with each other.
Yeah, that's just, it's great to have side-by-side racing. It's just unfortunate when side-by-side racing becomes contact. And ultimately, like we've seen, just, tears up a bunch of good cars. These guys just got to be a little bit more cautious for the guys that are still in it. And my condolences for the guys that aren't, because it's just, with one stage left, it's hard to make up laps at this track.
It's not impossible to make laps up at this track. You really have to just hope that there's a caution. It's the only way you can make up laps. It's not like at a short track where you can take fresh rubber and use that to your advantage. Even a mile and a half, you can get away with that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, Roger. And one thing, we're still right up there with, we've had, I believe, one caution. Even though 2 more should have been thrown, that's still a relatively clean race as far as statistics go.
Very much is, and now we get set to watch this field get set to go back racing for what will be stage number 3. Now, interestingly enough, Kenny Thompson with a heavily damaged car is electing not to pit. He is going to be staying out and elect to stay on the lead lap. I wonder if he hopes that the damage for him is small enough that he will not have to then he just can stick with the back of the draft and hope for another yellow flag, which could potentially help keep the field and avoid going a lap down for damage repairs.
Yeah, nobody wants to go a lap down here. It's not fun. It is the direct opposite of fun. Now, as we get ready to go into this third and final stage, Nolan, who are you dancing with? Everybody showed up to this thing having an idea in their head of who their partners were. Well, how that's changed. So now you got to look for who's not beat up, who can even push maybe. You just got to take assessment of the guys' cars, because even the guys in the back are still going to have to link up and try to get through this thing together. This is still a draft-dependent track.
To give you an idea of how second stage kind of ended off, I just heard Frank Flores say over the radio, "Hey, do I have a bumper at all?" That was over the driver's radio. I can answer your question for you, Frank. You got about half a bumper. It's a bit beat up. It might be hanging on by a couple of screws here or there, but it's there.
As the lights are off on the pace car, looks like we're getting ready to get this thing rolling again. And Big Al is super excited as we get into this third and final stage, because we get to have some semblance of a pit strategy. Green flag pit stops as the pace car comes in, and Kenny Powell is set to take the green flag.
Green flag waves. The field is a lot smaller than it was at the start of stage 2, but we're green nonetheless. Wachinski looking to go to the outside line, and that outside lane is back in form. Paul Olsen, I think, trying to push clear as well. Then we'll see what Travis Manning can do up from the top shelf.
As well as we'll also get a chance to see how many of these guys are still competitive, A lot of beat-up cars in this thing, but don't appear to be out of it. So as we are definitely getting ready to take this first lap of stage 3 and get it in the books, it looks like we're going to be led by Greg Wachinski.
Wachinski leads the first lap back to green. Paul Olsen will be looking to hold the bottom with him, and Travis Manning, I think, is going to be looking to maybe see if he can sling his way outside. Opposite against it, I think he's going to be trying to maybe back up a little bit. If he is trying to get a run, it's going to need Gary Adamson to really get up on his back bumper to help him out. But I think Adams at the moment is more just looking for a hole where he can get back down low.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's his strategy, is not to get stuck out there in that top shelf, but definitely to be able to get back in there together. As soon as these guys get back in and get in that single file line, I think then they're going to get this pack moving a little bit faster.
So the top 11 are all in one long train. Then you have got 12, 13, 14, and 15, all just a little bit behind the 4-car train that you just saw at the back end of the screens. And so far, 2 of the cars in that train are laps down. At the moment, we have got just about 4 cars total on the racing circuit. And now we get set to see what some of these guys might be able to do at the front of this field as Travis Manning has continued to just slip further and further back, with Gary Adamson not elected to really give Manning too much of a push. I think at the moment, Adamson is hoping the front line might check up a little bit. And I think at the moment that's what Manning's hoping for too, because unless they're checking up out at the corners or into the corners, they're not making all that much time up on the high side.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're going to still stay up there until they're ready to come down. And that's just, it's just giving us a great opportunity to see some side-by-side, side-drafted, and even another record or two.
Talk about some of the drivers who don't often see running up in front, and I like to think about Paul Olson. I mean, he's one of those drivers that is usually a little bit further towards the back end of the field, right? I mean, we're talking bottom 5, bottom 10 usually in races like these, but throughout really a lot of today's race, he's been running up there in the top 5. He has got a podium car, or capable of a podium here tonight, and I think that really kind of drives home the point where Daytona is one of those tracks where realistically everybody's got a good shot on being able to win it, right? You just got to know where to put your car right when it matters, and so far, Paul Wilson doing a good job of putting his car where it has mattered to make sure that he has not really fallen too far outside of the top 5. He's currently in second place, pushing Greg Wyszynski in the race lead.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be good news for that camp because, yeah, you're absolutely right. We don't get a chance usually to see him running this far up front, especially this later in the race. So the fact that he's actually been able to keep that car relatively clean, that's got to be a great feeling for him. Now he's up there running. Isn't he with the G&G guys?
Yes, he is. We don't usually see him running up in front too much, which is why I was kind of wanting to mention him, give a little bit of shout out to Paul Olson. We don't get to talk about him a whole lot up on these broadcasts, unless usually he's one of the first cars being lapped. That is very much not the case tonight, though. Paul Olson is in a form that we have not seen in a long time, and he is doing a phenomenal job working his way up to the high side. Kenny Thompson has bailed out. He is down in pit road now from the 13th place as they blitz past Ken Ayland on the outside line. He's 5 down and with significant damage, well off the race pace as well.
Yeah, way to go, Paul. Yeah, good shout out, Nolan. That is awesome because, like you said, some of these guys come out here every week and they just get unfortunately caught up in stuff that doesn't yield them to be around, especially up in the top 10 towards the end of the race. So good on the Adosin team there for getting that 43 car up here, up front here today.
That top line is starting to make some ground. They've pulled alongside Kenny Powell, and they're about to catch Paul Olson as well on the top shelf, along with Greg Wyszynski. Travis Manning is continuing to chip away at these leaders and their ever shrinking gap up there in front, as Kenny Thompson having a big moment. He was off track in turn number 2, I think, having a bit of a spin coming out of pit road. But he's kept that out of the wall and out of the track, meaning we stay green. No one else collected. Travis Manning, I think, is still hoping for a point from Gary Adamson. That's realistically, I think, what he needs here, Al, if he really wants to seal that deal and go for the lead.
Yeah, he is. If anybody has been committed to making that high line work tonight, it has absolutely been Travis Manning. So I think we kind of got an idea what we're going to see from him if he's available here towards the end of this finish, maybe 5 to go. He has not been wanting to relent whatsoever from being up top. I mean, and that's awesome. You got to have guys committed to it in order to do it.
Over halfway in tonight's 250-mile, 100-lap event, and now that outside lane is starting to wriggle around a little bit more, and that's going to cause him to once again lose time. Manning is backed up like Adrian San Jose Arenas on the inside line in his number 30 Ram 1 machine. And now you can see a gap starting to build there as the side draft really starts to kick in. top three starting to just break away a little bit, and now Arena starts to close that gap in again. It might not be too long if they keep side running these corners before they break away. Trav is outside of what these guys might be able to surmount.
Yeah, and that's the one thing you got to be very cognizant of. You can't stay out there so long that it's actually detrimental to both lines, because you don't want that lead pack to get away from you. I mean, so now looks like I think we're in our pit window. I believe now some of these guys will actually have the ability to. Nope, we're still not quite there yet. We're still not quite there yet, but it's going to be interesting to see what the pit strategy is going to be, because as we're looking at this field that we got, what a motley crew it is, Nolan. So trying to figure out who's coming in when is going to be interesting. But I think those DG guys are probably going to want to start to distance themselves as they get closer to that window, because I don't see why they wouldn't come in together.
About 7 laps or so, that's when drivers are going to be able to start coming down into pit road, and they'll be able to make it on fuel from there to the end of this race, as Jay Hone goes to the inside line, just allows the field to breeze past on the high side as he went down onto the apron of the racetrack. Top 11 still all together, and at the moment the only other car on the lead lap is John Mullins, who is 20 seconds back. And now Adamson, you thought about maybe looking down to the low end, opted against it, decided to stick up with Manning on the high side. There's just no space really. And the outside lane is at this point almost as big as the line on the inside as well. They can get up to the race leader. I think once Manning is able to get a quarter panel in on Wojcinski from the outside line, they're going to be able to pull that outside or that inside lane back in, and then that'll secure it for Manning for at least half a lap or so.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just now he's hoping that he does get a little bit more help on that outside line, getting more guys to join his cause, because if he can't make that outside line just as big as that inside line, you know, he might be doing all of this for naught.
A really bad run through turns 3 and 4, though, sees Manning lose all of the speed that he was trying to build up throughout the last 5, 10 or so laps. And now he has slipped a little bit further back down the order, and he's got to start to slowly claw his way right back up. But you can see that number 30 car really looking to get a bit more aggressive on the low side, looking to try to slow up the advance of those guys on the outside line. And Wojcinski, Olsen, Powell also running up top. And now you can see Manny getting right up against the outside wall, kind of using the aerodynamics of that wall and his car combined to try to get him just a little bit better of a run down the back straightaway, since Adamson so far has not really been willing to push him all that much.
Yeah, well, Adamson was on his bumper for a while there, but something happened, and I think he lost that ability to get back up on him, and so since then he hadn't been able to close the gap. And I don't think the 22 car has been, well, the 18 car has been kind of slowing down enough, you know, to kind of pull him in, if you will.
Frank Flores gets into the outside wall as he tries to let lead line traffic through, but he is through nonetheless. And now Manning alongside with Wojcinski, and now pulls a bumper in front for the race lead. Adamson still running with them. Brian Johnson lost a bit of time. He's trying to regain that ground from the high side, but it's a heads-up drag race now through 3 and 4 for the race lead up in front.
And Adamson's definitely sticking right to his backside now, which is, like I said, oh, I'm surprised he left him out there.
Manning drops down in front for the lead, but that might not last. Gary Adamson now up to the top shelf, and now alongside with Travis Manning. That's the Hasba going down from the low side, right? Once you do, you are the next car that is going to be the most vulnerable with that outside line, and they can still have enough guys lined up. Sure enough, Gary Adamson is going to be kind of pulling up with him here. Kenny Thompson will have to go onto the apron. There's no space for him to move up high to get out of the field's way. Adamson now gets his nose out front for the race lead. Don't think he's quite clear just yet. Maybe, though, if he can get a good run here out of 4. Now he's clear, and Severa's clear with him.
And now's the time to come down as they also bring that T-Mobile car down with them also.
Oh!
That was an interesting turn.
They both tried to go low, but Severa was quicker on the gun. He went down low, and Adamson now back to square one on the high side. Eric Kling still going to be racing with him, and Brian Johnson, I think, is still trying to close in the gap.
like you said, you got that split second to make a decision and make big things happen. And I think Adamson's split second just left him. Now that top line all but disintegrated now, and they're actually going to fall back as Chris Severa now shows the way as we're going to continue to roll on. But, Greg Wachinski.
Oh, no! Manning gets dumped and up into the air. Caution flag is out. Single car spin, but about 3 or 4 cars with major damage. Wachinski tried to go high. Manning threw a very late and aggressive block. That unsettled Wachinski, who just hooked him in the rear. Well, right there comes down. Nothing Wachinski could do, and that's a big hit to kick the 22 car up and into the air. And I have to say, I think Travis Manning kind of did that to himself. That was a very, very late block that moved Wachinski up the track. And it just unsettled him. You cannot make blocks like that, especially, this early in the race. So we've still got over 40 laps to go.
Not all of us, as we just throw up a whole lot more cars, Nolan. That's just one of those unfortunate things, and here we were single file for the most part, if you think about it. But it just, like you said, it looked like Wachinski was just going to try to get a run going, and Manning not wanting that to be a part of it. But now it looks like they're both not going to be a part of it.
Oh, you can tell right there, Wachinski turning that wheel to the right. Nothing he could have done. I mean, Manning went up, but he wasn't clear, right? So Wachinski had to scramble up the track to avoid hooking Manning, but that just got him unsettled with the arrow, especially coming off of the corner over the crest of a hill on the banking like that.
Especially as fast as they were going as well.
That is a textbook incident of the exact wrong type of block to throw in the exact wrong place on the racetrack.
And unfortunately, we just tore up a lot of good cars. And it's also going to make for an interesting pit strategy, because I don't think, at this point, I don't think we're going to have enough to make it. Definitely not if there's overtime. So I think you're going to average, 33, 34 laps to a tank, I believe.
And at the moment, we're going to have 40 laps left to go. So you're correct. We are not going to have enough to make it to the end from here. A splash and dash still on the cards. We will take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with a restart in the few.
There are moments that surprise and delight the mind and the senses. Introducing Sound Art, the world's first truly customizable, concealed, flat panel art speaker system. A revolutionary combination of incredible sound delivered from your most meaningful pictures. When art and technology intersect, there is a seamless blend of creativity and function.
I'm alive in the streetlight, pulling at the stars in the moonlight. Every time I feel you close.
With Sound Art, anyone can print their own artwork or pick from numerous licensed artwork that we have. The possibilities are limitless. Enjoy beautiful and amazing sound throughout your home. The entire surface of your artwork generates incredibly robust sound. Your art never sounded so good.
Butt Kicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
It's Severa, Kling, Pattingale, Strunk, and Adamson currently the big runners at the moment in your field. There's very few cars that are without damage as we eliminate a couple of more after I believe that was caution number 4 on the night. Space car lights are out and we get set to go back green flag racing with a pair of pretty pink machines going to be running up on the top end, one sponsored by Cancer Awareness and the other one with T-Mobile on the car. Pace car is down and then it'll be in the hands of Severa to take us back to the green flag.
And Severa will do just that as he's going to take the green flag. But it looks like that outside line is going to get a little bit more of a run. But now all of a sudden they're going to come back down into one. Severa just seemed to not get the launch that he was expecting. I don't know if he was caught off guard or what, but now he's going to find himself fighting for that third place position as he's locked in on the bottom line.
Under 40 laps to go. We were talking about this right before we went to break, that even if guys pit now and have a full tank of gas, but the fuel tanks last about 30 laps, you still are not able to make it to the end of this race. They will have to stop. They're going to be just under 10 laps short of being able to actually make it to the end. So the pit strategy still not quite over. It didn't play out long enough for us to really get any pit strategy in the last run, but there's still one more round of pit stops that are left to go.
And so now you have to be careful because somewhere in that draft there's going to be damaged cars. But the damaged guys aren't going to tell you that their cars are damaged because they don't want to get pushed out. So you got to be very careful to watch what those guys in front of you are doing. And if you start to see a gap in that draft, you're going to have to make some maneuvers. Otherwise, you might find yourself out of the pack.
Eric Kling still leading the way. The field is single filed out. I think at this point in time, a lot of the guys are looking to just be a bit more conservative now that they've kind of whittled down the field just that little bit more, right? I mean, we're kind of at the point where, you know, what are you able to realistically do?
Well, yeah, that seems to be the case for the lead pack, but that second pack seems to be just out there running, side by side, just like they've been all day. So apparently they haven't quite got the memo, I guess, Nolan, but I don't know. I'm just here to enjoy the race and just, comment a little bit.
Taking a look at how the point standings are shaking up entering tonight's race. Chris Severa, of course, entered tonight's race, 56 points up from Schaffner. Schaffner was in a battle, 4 points apart from Kenny Powell. And all the while, as Kenny Thompson coming back up on track a bit aggressively after letting the field through on the high side. But 60 points separate first through third, and remember, you can get a max of 60 points in any one of these races. So at this point, if Severa can maintain that gap, he will essentially have locked out the championship.
Right, all he has to do is just keep himself clean at this point. It's interesting, Paul Olsen now is being shown in the 11th position. So maybe we spoke a little bit too soon. I don't know. Was he actually caught up in that last bit of shenanigans?
I believe Olsen was. I think there is a bit of damage on that car. So, yes, he was collected in that latest caution we had on today, which was such a shame because he was running so well. We're talking a flawless race so far, consistently in the top 10, a majority in the top 5. And he got wrecked because Wachinski, of course, spun across his line after a very bold block, shall we say, from Travis Manning. And that, of course, kind of gave Olsen all the damage he needed to not be any sorts of competitive anymore with this field.
Yeah, that's just, there it is again, an unfortunate set of circumstances for those guys. But there's old Robert Pattingale up there, fourth place. That's another guy that we don't really get to see up front this late on in the race that often. So he's actually got himself a pretty solid performance being put on here tonight.
33 laps left to go. I think at this point, if a caution were to come out, if you come down to pit and then save a lot of fuel under the caution, you would have just enough to make it back with no room for green-white checkers. I think you would need, realistically, though, another 2 laps or so on this run if you wanted to be absolutely sure that he can make it if it went green to the end.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Eric Kling, he's been leading the majority of these laps, so his fuel consumption might not be the same as the guys behind him, say, somebody like Pattingale or someone run a little bit later in the order. The farther you are in that line, the better your fuel consumption is going to be. So that might be something that spaces out when these green flag pit stops start to occur. But at this point in the game, though, I think you're going to run that baby all the way down until you absolutely, have to pit, because I think you're waiting for a late race caution. Nobody wants to go in and prematurely find themselves having to deal with that kind of math. So I think you just stay out as long as possible and then pit when you absolutely have to. What are your thoughts?
I mean, that really is the super speedway strategy, isn't it? Just wait for caution at all costs if you can before you come on down into pit road, because realistically, nobody ever wants to come down under green flag conditions on the super speedway. It is very, very risky, not just with how easy it is to lose the draft throughout pit stops, but also how easy it is to be racked out by other people that might have overshot their braking points. It's not very cut and dry like it is at some of the mile and a halves or even at Auto Club just a week from now. Like, you really have gotten to be so much more careful. You're practically walking on eggshells when you're trying to pit in at a plate track. So you combine that with the fuel strategy, I'm completely with you. Just run the tank until it's dry and then just pit at the last minute, take a splash and dash, and you're off and away from there.
Yeah, and the big thing at that point, like you said, is this: you got to make sure that your calculations are right, because you don't want to spend any additional time putting any additional fuel in that car that you have to. At this point, tires aren't going to be a factor. Guys are going to be starting to hit their mark, try to figure out exactly how much fuel to get, and then to get back out there racing as fast as they can, because that's going to determine who's stacked up where, barring some unforeseen caution in the late stages of this race.
We're 30 laps to go at this point in time, and that, of course, does mean that now we are going to be able to make it to the end on fuel if any of these drivers come on down into pit road. So this could be a very crucial time. I think it's worth noting for a lot of these guys in terms of trying to think about where they want to go for their strategies. But at the moment, it is looking like nobody is thinking about coming on down into pit road yet. And I think it's only going to take one individual to break off and enter pit road before you really start to see a max exodus of drivers coming on down and in. So far, everybody running up here in this top group, it is on the same pit strategy. So we should not expect that to change anytime soon, as Wachinski forces this lead car train to go around him on the high side.
That's a very interesting choice. I guess he figures, I've been running a low line the whole race, so I'm not going to stop now, guys. Go around, and yeah, that's awesome. He earned it. So let's just get this. Now, as we are over halfway through this thing, we'll look at our race running order. We have Eric Kling currently in the lead with Ryan Strunk in second place, Chris Severa holding down third place, Robert Pattingale in fourth, Gary Adamson's in fifth, John Mullins is going to be in sixth place, Adrian San Jose Arenas in seventh place, Kenny Powell holding down that eighth place position, Channing Belo holding down the ninth place position with Brian Johnson in the 10th place position.
And now I can see cars starting to go to the high side, maybe trying to make up some ground. John Mullins heads up that train. Kenny Powell is just tucked in behind him in the number 24 G&G Toyota Camry, but so far, no one else in this train has opted to go with them. Oh, and Mullins getting a little bit loose, and this is what I was about to mention. Now, we haven't talked about this a whole lot. Oh, contact! Now Mullins going to go around, collects Balu, and now up into the outside wall. Caution is out again.
I think that's going to end a couple more people's day, and also our hopes of seeing green flag pit stops.
Well, this caution has made it very easy, hasn't it? Just go through and take one round of stops and the caution. It was the number 30 car making this into the arena. This is drifts up into Mullins, and that kicked John Mullins up into the air and into the outside wall, and Channing Ballou just got connected as well as Mullins drifted back down the track. And Powell was left with nowhere to go. You don't give me heavy time for the likes of Mullins.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just the key super speedway racing, man. You don't have a whole lot of options. You know what I mean? And Powell, unfortunately, he got taken out in the Thursday night race in a similar fashion. So here he is again, just along for the ride, so to speak. Yeah, very unfortunate for the guys involved, but very fortunate for the three guys that I think are unscathed in this race so far, because that completely erases the pit strategy.
25 laps to go this time by. We got set to enter the final quarter of tonight's race. Kind of want to look forward into how the next month or so will be playing on now, particularly for the Super Cup Series. Actually, we've already talked about the last couple of races in the normal Cup Series, about how that's going to be looking with the season ending off at Auto Club in Vegas. After that, you will, of course, be having a 1 week break for the regular Cup Series season, where we can focus properly on the Super Cup Series. That will be at the Phoenix Raceway, where we'll go racing around the first track where you really have to break so far in these cars all season long. From there, Atlanta will kick off the second season, and there we get to go turning right yet again to the circuit of the Americas. Richmond, Martinsville, Bristol Dirt, Talladega. So many exciting tracks coming up here throughout the months of March and April, and a lot of good racing, no doubt, that we can look forward to.
Absolutely, and I think one of the races that you called out that I'm probably most excited about is the new Atlanta, the new improved Atlanta, where we're going to see super speedway type racing in these next gen cars. So that's going to be kind of awesome, because we haven't had yet, that hasn't been released to us yet in the iRacing sim. But I'm definitely excited to see what they've done with the place.
As the field leaves pit row, the current running order out of pit row will be Kling, Strunk, Severa, Adamson, Pattengale, and Brian Johnson. Those are the soonest cars out of pit road. Everybody else so far has been taking time in pit road for damage repairs. We'll take a quick step away. We'll be back in just a few moments.
There are moments that surprise and delight the mind and the senses. Introducing Sound Art, the world's first truly customizable, concealed, flat panel art speaker system. A revolutionary combination of incredible sound delivered from your most meaningful pictures. When art and technology intersect, there is a seamless blend of creativity and function.
Come alive in the streetlight, pulling at the stars in the moonlight. Every time I feel you close.
With Sound Art, anyone can print their own artwork or pick from numerous licensed artwork that we have. The possibilities are limitless. Enjoy beautiful and amazing sound throughout your home. The entire surface of your artwork generates incredibly robust sound. Your art never sounded so good.
Pace car lights are out. As we were discussing at this point, it would be a bit easier to count the cars that are not damaged, of which there are not too many at the moment. We're thinking about 5 to 6 cars that are actually expected to be up to pace. With everybody else behind so far, just wanting to realistically just salvage, right? Hope that some people maybe have some more misfortunes and pick up some free spots from there.
Okay, well, I'm going to say that unless you go single file racing here for a little while, you can expect at least another caution. I mean, that's unfortunate, but that's what has been the key driving factor on all the cautions that we've had here today. Yeah, at this point, Nolan, I don't even think we've got enough cars left to have a big one. It'll just be a miniature one.
It'll be a 1/3 scale replica. Pace car's coming around through turns 3 and 4. Eric Lane will be the driver to take us back to green flag racing from Daytona. At the moment, you've only got about a fifth of the G&G crew left out there in the top grouping. And then you've also got 3 guys, Adamson, Strunk, and Pattengale. They're going to be chomping at the bit, hoping to go after a race win here tonight. Pace car's down and in, and as we go, green flag racing. Looks like Ryan Strong won't be able to get the best of runs on the high side.
Well, you now definitely have to fight for track position as well as that draft. This is not the time in the race where you're going to actually be able to sit back and wait. There's no more cautions. There's no more stage points. This right here is the race to the end of this thing. So if you're not with that lead draft, then you're not going to be talked about here as we get ready to come down to almost 20 to go in this thing.
Strunk pulls clear from Kling. Not quite. Looks like the number 95 still just has the nose in there. Ryan Strunk looking to run the outside groove. Adamson up to the top side. They nearly all collide into the outside wall, but the outside lane, I think, starting to get a little bit more formed up now. And they could become a serious threat to these guys in their charge. They can possibly go for a race win.
Yeah, definitely. Right now, everybody, you don't need a dance partner anymore. You just need somebody that can hold a straight line and can maybe tolerate you pushing them a little bit, because these guys are definitely going to fight now to try to get in that position because they know this is what's going to take us all the way to the end of this thing.
And Strong abandons Adamson on the top shelf. The 77 car now going to be trying to maybe gang up on Adrian San Jose Arenas here, trying to see if he can potentially get a run up for Pattengale, Severa, Kling, and others, but he is not going to be able to do so. He'll be tucking in line. Arenas, you can still see, making little looks to the high side. I think trying to see if maybe he can get anybody to go with him, but so far, nobody's willing to take that bait.
Yeah, these guys are going to have to really make a quick decision, because the longer they stay out there side by side, the further that lead pack's going to get away from them, and that's going to really allow any opportunity they were going to have to make this thing racy to diminish.
And the top 6 still running single filed, and as Channing Ballard gets everything settled out in behind, we'll wait for this race to kick on up towards the end of this thing. Why don't we take a ride on board with Gary Adamson, one of the leaders here, trying to get into the top 5 for a few laps. 13 laps to go, and the top 6 on your screens right now are the top 6 that are all going to be vying for the race win as we get set to enter the closing stages of this race. Everybody else in behind, off the pace, and not going to be a factor in tonight's race. Lap traffic, though, still ever present on the racing course, as you saw the likes of Frank Flores getting a bit caught up, and now they're about to catch Mario Lapinta, who came into pit road a little while ago. And well, Al, as we get set to enter the final 12 laps or so, I have to say it's been far from the cleanest race, but I think it's been an entertaining one nonetheless.
Yeah, you can say that again, Nolan. It has definitely been entertaining. It's what we get with super speedway races. Just unfortunately for us, we've had a lot of cautions that have taken out a lot of good cars. So, we always say you got to be available. Looks like these guys are kind of quasi-available. So we're going to see they're probably going to just ride single file like this. There's really no reason to risk it. There's no biscuits out there right now. But just being able to complete 250 miles in this race and have a car that's unscathed, as look at that 17 car, Robert Pattingill, right back there, that 6 car, Wachinski. So this is not Wachinski, but
Severa?
Adamson.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is good stuff. We just got to make the best out of what we got going on.
Speaking of Robert Pattingill, I mean, he's one of those drivers that, once again, he's a bit more of a gentleman's racer. Not very much up towards the front of this thing, but still turns up every single week, just looking to show up and have a good time. And he's kind of close, I believe, when back when the field was only about 8 to 12 cars strong. He had a couple of top 5s, more out of, but obviously, the smaller field size is a small asterisk. But this would be huge for him, right? Getting his first ever ISCA podium. And at the moment, he's looking pretty set to be able to do that, and if he can keep those back 3 at bay. And I think we've all started to notice the fact that Adrian San Jose Arenas, Ryan Strong, and Gary Adamson and backing it up a little bit as the laps go along, and then they pull right up. Something in my mind tells me, Al, they're setting up for potential last lap dash.
Yeah, that definitely are. And Arenas has got to be very fortunate that he's still in this thing, because he's actually been the butt of a couple of bad jokes or crashes, if you will. So the fact that his car is actually still intact like it is, and here he is in 4th place with his debut, that's a really good showing for those guys here tonight.
Once again, backing it up just a little bit, getting a bit of a tip from Ryan Strunk. And I think at the moment, Arenas is wanting to, again, kind of keep a little bit further back in this field, and that's what you need to do if you want to go out on top in one of these races. You got to make sure that you can actually be there in the end, and so far, Arenas has been doing everything that he has needed in order to make sure that he would find himself on top. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to make a whole lot of passes if you don't have a run first, especially around the outside lane in just 1 lap. And I think that is what he's trying to make sure he can get set up to do. About a split 3 wide traffic. Hone goes down low. Thompson goes up high. And the field cycles through with no incidents getting around lap traffic.
Yeah, so now, if that top line were to actually start to reassemble as we get, way down to the end of this thing, it's going to be pretty interesting, because it'll be a 3-3 shot if you think about it. I mean, providing that these guys can be patient enough to make a move, but I definitely think that's going to provide us a pretty exciting finish.
Kling, Severa, the G&G teammates, still lead the way. At the moment, they are the only G&G drivers that are still in contention for a race win here tonight. 2 of Shake and Bake. Shake and Bake has got 2 entries here tonight. One of them is outside of the top 10, and 3 laps down the other rounds out the podium. And then, of course, you got 3 more independent drivers just tucked in behind. And those are Strunk, Arenas, as well as Adamson. And now Arenas gets muscled up. Ryan Strunk, forces his nose in there, and that's going to push the 30 car all the way to the back. I think Strunk was a little bit done, but Arenas constantly backing these guys up while he was trying to practice setting up runs. And now that's going to pull Strunk right up with the rest of the top 3 down into turn number 1.
do you think that Arenas was actually trying to set up for a run, or you think he's just having trouble keeping that car on a straight line? I mean, I've been watching him, and he actually did drift up into someone earlier, which created a caution. I just think that was the problem. I think he just is having trouble keeping it on that line, and like you said, that 77 car just got sick of waiting.
Could very well be the case. You know, it's one of those situations where sometimes super speedways are not necessarily people's forte, and in order to be good at the super speedway, you first need to master the art of driving in a straight line with a whole lot of traffic around you. And the difficulty with having to drive with a lot of traffic around you in a straight line is the fact that it's very hard to actually see where you're going. So you're more so just trying to follow the guy in front of you and hope that they're driving in a straight line. Which obviously doesn't help matters then if they're the ones that are also kind of wriggling all over left and right across the racetrack either.
And then plus you got the wind factor, because these cars aren't just gonna, they're not just sitting there, they're passive or dormant, if you will. So it does, you have to be smooth with Will. You don't be aggressive, but you have to be very smooth with it, because that's what's going to assist you in keeping that straight line. But a lot of guys that I know, they can't hold a line, a drink, or a job. So
5 laps left to go, and there's only 10 drivers still on the lead lap, and the drivers from there are 2 laps or more down. Only 6 once again running up here in this field. 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th just now exiting turn number 4, which really goes to show just how far back these other drivers have fallen. They are consistently 2 seconds a lap slower. Really going to show just how much that damage has been hindering a lot of those guys deeper in the field. The guys up in the lead still running strong, nobody being too aggressive. I have a feeling that with this field being as small as it is for the win, they're going to be just trying to see if they can wrestle their cars around and potentially see if they can set themselves up for a last lap overtake.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely. I mean, no matter what position you're in here, maybe with the exception of the second place car, you are going to do something. I mean, you absolutely have to put yourself in a position, even if it's just breaking up that draft, trying to get those lead 2 cars, to slow down a little bit. But you have to make a run for it. Don't you think?
Wholeheartedly agree with you there. Can't really afford to wait around, but at the same time, if you make the move too early, you're going to find yourself just going to be under fire yourself for the same position. And if there's one place you don't want to be when it's battling for the lead on the super speedway, it's in first.
Yeah, you definitely can say that again. I mean, the first place driver, really at this point in the game, you're just going to get shoved. You just hope that the guy behind you is kind of shoving you to the wind, not shoving you to the side.
Under 3 laps left to go. Who will come out on top? Will G&G work together to pull out a potential G&G 1-2? Or could we be seeing one of these drivers in behind make an upset? Robert Pattingale has been one of the longest runners in this Saturday Night Cup series. Could he become Shake and Bake's first ever race winner? At the very least, Pattingale's going to be gunning for his first ever podium in ISCA competition. Then, of course, you got the rookie, Adrian San Jose Arenas, just tucked in behind as we go 2 laps to go. Adamson and Strunk also chasing race-winning firsts.
And this is anyone's race. It's gonna come down to who lines themselves up the best position to utilize the maximum effects of the draft.
1.5 laps left to go. Strung's got to run. There's the look. He's not done yet. He's going to be looking to the high side, and Pattingale didn't go with him. Here comes the charge. Adamson and Arenas both to the top shelf, coming out of turn 4 to take the white flag.
Looks like Severa's going to jump out there to kind of block that dash a little bit, trying to take a little bit of momentum out of those guys' sail, so he can actually help his teammate be safe from the run. And it was very effective, as that top line never really got formed.
Pangale's down to 4th, but he's going to have a huge head of steam. Strunk is laying back, I think, trying to set up the winners up in front. Pangale going to look to help the 77 down the back straightaway for the final time today, and he's going to be shoving Ryan Strunk up towards the top 2. Can G&G hold on and take a 1-2? And the Tucson Sound on 250. Strunk is closing in all the time. Pangale still looking to push. Strunk to the top shelf. He gets loose though. That could be the nail in the coffin. Strunk goes high, but it's too little, too late. Eric Kling wins at Daytona.
Now that was an exciting finish for a handful of cars.
And what a way to end off the race. And Pangale so close to a first podium, but a top 5. I'm sure he will not be complaining about that at all at the end of the night. What a solid race from those guys up in front. Nice, respectful, right down to the closing laps. As we get set for the last drivers that come across the line, we will go and take a look at your official post-race results now from Daytona. Eric Kling takes the race victory with Chris Severa just 600ths of a second behind him, pulling off a G&G 1-2. Ryan Strunk rounds out the podium with Robert Pangale in 4th. Gary Adamson is 5th with Adrian San Jose Arenas in 6th. It's Paul Olson at 7th, Brian Johnson at 8th, Greg Wachinski and Channing Balu 9th and 10th. And that'll leave the likes of Kenny Powell down in 11th place with Frank Flores in 12th. Kenny Thompson is 13th with Jay Honan in 14th. Ken Ayland was 15th with Mario Lapinta 17 down in 16th. John Mullins was 17th. Travis Manning was 18th. Chris Johnson in 19th with Bear Coupled in 20th. That will leave the likes of Mark Johnson, Brooks Dirty, Don Avery, Josh Schaffner, and Wayne Grossi to round out tonight's 25-car field from Daytona. What a race then here tonight, and we'll be given to talk to all of those drivers in just a few moments. We'll take a quick step away. We're back with the post-race show in just a few.
There are moments that surprise and delight the mind and the senses. Introducing Sound Art, the world's first truly customizable, concealed, flat panel art speaker system. A revolutionary combination of incredible sound delivered from your most meaningful pictures. When art and technology intersect, there is a seamless blend of creativity and function.
I'm alive in the streetlight, pulling at the stars in the moonlight. Every time I feel you close.
With Sound Art, anyone can print their own artwork or pick from numerous licensed artwork that we have. The possibilities are limitless. Enjoy beautiful and amazing sound throughout your home. The entire surface of your artwork generates incredibly robust sound. Your art never sounded so good.
To the post-race show from Daytona. We'll talk to all of your top 3 drivers here from Daytona. We're going to kick things off with race winner Eric Kling taking the top spot in a G&G 1-2 finish. And Eric Kling, the car is looking slightly worse for wear, but you got it there in the end and take the top step of the podium. A pretty calm last few laps, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, last 2 laps were, we were expecting a run to come there at the end, and, it did for the most part, but, I had the help of Chris Severa to kind of help keep him at bay and kind of give me points of what was going on there.
So how about Daytona nowadays, right? I mean, it is by far one of the most famous oval racetracks, if not any racetrack in the world, but it was a bit lackluster lately. Now that we're able to race side by side like we were seeing all throughout the race tonight, do you think that has definitely brought back the track a little bit more?
Yeah, it did feel a little bit more like it used to. I personally, I avoid this track like the plague, and I am typically not very good at it. So me to be here is a bit odd. But it did have I have enjoyed it a little more this week than I have in the years past.
And while you're still sitting 7th place in the Cup Series points, this race win does mean you could very well be kicking things off on a high in the points lead for round 1 of the Super Cup Series season. Do you plan to maybe go for that longer title? Any aspirations on where you want to finish there?
Right now I'm week to week, but you mentioning it does kind of plant the seed in my head as far as what I could do. Um, I that does interest me.
Well, fingers crossed, we'll be seeing you back and potentially contending for yet more race wins in the Super Cup Series and the regular Cup Series seasons as well. Before I let you go, then, Eric, anybody you'll like to shout out for that G&G T-Mobile 95?
G&G. Chris Severa specifically, like I said, he made that happen for me. I know for the rest of the team, the race didn't necessarily go the way, we would expect it, but, they were there for the most part to make this happen.
And thank you, Eric, for taking the time to join us here tonight. Congratulations on a race victory. Hopefully we'll be seeing you next week at Auto Club.
Thank you very much.
And well, with that, we're going to move right on down to our second place finisher. Chris Severa now joins us up in the broadcast booth. And Al, I'll toss this one on down to you.
Hey, Chris, this is Big Al up in the booth. How you doing, sir?
Hello.
Hey, congratulations on a strong showing and a second place finish. That G&G team, you guys were really out there and looked like you had the cars to beat.
Yeah, it was. We definitely had something strong early on. Fortunately, we were able to bring numbers, and that's huge for Daytona. But just being able to get them all single file, it's a whole other story there. But yeah, if you're able to work together, work with the cars around you. I just, I had a lot of different situations tonight. Just really worked with whoever I could, pushed whoever I could. Yeah, the car was definitely much more suited to be pushing than to be out front.
Yeah, and I guess congratulations are kind of like a little premature, but in order. I think you're going to actually sweep this series and become the champion. But definitely anything, I know these two races, like next week, we're going to Auto Club. They don't really kind of go hand in hand, but anything you guys got looking forward to for next week?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting going back to an intermediate, see what these cars can do now that we have a whole lot of extra downforce, whole lot of track to play with. So it's going to be interesting exploring the lanes, especially over in 1 and 2 there, to see what this car will be able to do there.
Well, you definitely don't seem to have any trouble controlling it, as you have definitely put on a great show week after week. Before I let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, everyone at G&G for putting in the work on the sets this week. Eric for being there at the end. Breast Cancer Awareness Association, Premier Setups. That's pretty much it. Yeah, thank you guys as always for, if you guys weren't here, we wouldn't be able to do it. Tucson Sound Art again for sponsoring the series. Really appreciate you guys.
Hey, definitely. Thank you very much, sir. Congratulations on your second place finish.
Thank you. We'll hope to show out and show up. Hopefully we'll earn a little bit more Reddit karma, but we'll see.
Roger, Chris. Have a good evening.
Thank you, guys.
And that'll move us on to our third and final podium driver on the night. And for Ryan Strunk, he wasn't just a third place, but how about 24th to third? Ryan, you started on the second to last row. Last driver starting on that outside line. You fight your way through, gain the most spots by far, and take a third place finish. Talk us through how you fought your way up through the field.
Just teamwork, guys. It was, we decided just to not qualify and just let the race come to us kind of thing. And it worked out for the most part. This is super fun series to race in. Got to thank Kenny Powell and all of the ISCA admins. They do a really fantastic job finding drivers and everything.
And well, obviously starting in the back is not, I would say, without risks. So why don't you talk us through what it was like for you whenever you were trying to work your way up through the field, and then all of a sudden you saw smoke start to fly in front of you?
Brother, can I tell you, it was it was nerve-wracking to say the least. I have a really good spotter in Greg Newsom and Bill Dolph. They really earned their money today, so I'm gonna have to go buy them some beers for sure.
And are you looking for the Super Cup Series season as well? You're obviously going to be starting this season off on a high. Do you plan on maybe making a run for the title or at least the playoffs at season's end?
Well, right now we got the Kathy Maloney at Guaranteed Rates Camaro registered for just the Season 1 and Season 2 point standings, I guess. Being that we've got a good finish here, man, that really makes me want to go for the Super Cup Series. So I guess time will tell. Let's see how we do at Auto Club.
Well, fingers crossed to have yourselves a solid run then over in Auto Club in just 1 week's time. Before I let you go then here, anybody you'd like to shout out for that Kathy Maloney 77 Chevrolet?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let's shout out, obviously, Kathy Maloney at Guaranteed Rate. She provides some support so we can go to Royco Setup Shop, and they provide some really killer setups. Got to thank, like I said, the ISCA admins, you guys. It's just really, I entered this league about 2 weeks ago, and I'm just really blown away with how everything's ran. It's really awesome.
Well, hopefully then you'll continue to enjoy yourself as we get set to go racing deeper and deeper into the end of one season and into the start of another. Thank you for joining us here tonight, Ryan, and we'll hope you all the best of luck in Fontana.
Yeah, thanks, fellas. Hopefully I'm talking to you a lot more this season, huh?
And well, with that is about going to be all the time we're going to have for one day. So for myself, here, Nola Rempel up at the broadcast booth, along with Alfonso Nixon and Rob Melnick down behind the cameras. Want to thank all of our viewers for joining us for the Tucson Sound Art 250 for the iRacing Stock Car Association here at the World Center of Racing. We'll see you all next week when we swing over to the West Coast and California.